My friends, it's another day, and with that day comes a new trailer for Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. However, not only are we going to be going over the info in that trailer, there's also some rumors that need to be busted, as apparently there's been some confusion about some of the footage shown in that trailer amongst the community. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including my ongoing news coverage during the lead up to Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, as well as my coverage of the turn-based strategy genre as a whole, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. So yes, we got a new trailer a couple of days ago. Apologies that I didn't cover it when it was first released. I have had a lot on my plate recently, including recovering from my absolutely raucous trip to see My Chemical Romance and Linkin Park last weekend, but we're covering it now, and fortunately, that little bit of a delay has allowed me to see some of the discussion around the community about what was shown in this trailer, and as mentioned, there seemed to be some confusion about a few of the clips that we got here. So, we're going to go through all of what I think are the most notable aspects of this quick little trailer, and then help to maybe dispel some of those rumors and confusion at the end. But first, what new information do we have here today? Largely, there's a lot of quality of life displayed in this trailer, as well as a few other noteworthy things. We'll talk about that quality of life first. In no particular order, we have seen that on the deployment screen now, we can actually see what remaining slots and what characters are currently deployed on the left-hand side of the screen, and any characters that are currently in the battle party will have a little bookmark denotation next to them as well, basically just making it easier to keep track if you have, say, multiple knights, which knight it is that you have deployed currently on the map, which is certainly very nice. And of course, we can also see our ability to deploy directly onto the map, as we've discussed before, which is choice. When moving a unit, we also now not only see the height of the terrain as we have seen in past versions of the game, but also two other noteworthy pieces of information. What type of terrain it is, whether it be grasslands or tiles or snow or boards or what have you, but also what geomancy spell you can cast from it as a result of that terrain type, which is a wonderful quality of life update. One of the most annoying features of trying to use a geomancer was just trying to keep track in your head of what each different terrain type was, so you knew if you'd actually be able to cast before you stepped on that particular tile. And while yeah, over time you would kind of figure it out, there was a little bit of an annoying tendency to have like, oh well, there's different types of forest grassland tiles and just minor little things like that. So it's good that you'll be able to directly see now what spell you'll be able to cast from each of these tiles. We've also seen, maybe this is something that was in past trailers, but I didn't notice it before, there's a little bit of a shorthand indicator now under your actual damage output when targeting a unit for an attack that will show when the damage that you're going to be dealing will actually down a target. And obviously, again, you could very quickly just check how much HP does the target have versus how much damage am I dealing, but it's just a quick little at-a-glance notifier to make it a little bit quicker to know, okay, I can actually just guaranteed down something with this attack, let's confirm it and get on our way. We've gotten another look at the job screen, this time featuring Lad as a mystic, and since we haven't really touched on it before, I gotta point out now how this is just such a nice, clean UI setup. Having all of the job details on the left side of the screen, including part of the full job art, is very nice. It's just very stylish looking. And we have all the abilities center screen with all the different icons that indicate what type of ability it is for, again, just quick shorthand at-a-glance info, which is great, as well as the full ability description on the right side of the screen, including if there's a relevant MP cost and cast speed for each ability. Makes for a lovely view at a glance, and I think is going to help with the overall menuing of the game, something we're going to talk about more in just a second. Even though there's a lot of information going on these screens, I would rather have everything available to the player at a glance so that they can see the more comprehensive view of what it is their character has going on while you are building out your party, because as anyone who knows the game knows, you do spend a lot of time customizing these characters and swapping around between menus and figuring out exactly what it is that they are set up to do. Speaking of this job menu, we've also seen that changing jobs takes place on this same screen as everything else for party management. So as we kind of were concerned about, there is no job wheel anymore, but we do still have the little like lights from the heavens descending over your unit to change them into the new sprite for the job, which is nice. And again, it should help cut down on the overall menuing in the game, which I think is going to be good for newer audiences or just people who are really familiar with the game like myself and don't need to be spending quite so much time in the menus as we did back in the day. Finally, as far as like quality of life menu features are concerned, there's this new screen here that I don't think we've seen anywhere else before that indicates what it looks like when a new character or characters joins your party. This here is at the beginning of Chapter 2 when you have Lad, Lavian, and Alicia join the party, and it's actually a pretty nice new screen that shows all the characters lined up in a little queue, with Ramza in the corner observing them as the army commander that he is, a touch that I really enjoy. Now, it's kind of interesting because there's really not many times, as far as we're aware at least, based on the original versions of the game, where you'll actually see multiple characters joining simultaneously, unless there's some new features or something going on that we don't know about. But it's still a fun little screen, and I guess if you're going through and just spam mediating everyone to recruit the entire enemy battle party in one battle, that could be when it would show up, but more likely than not, you're going to see like one character at a time in this screen, but it's still cute and I do really like it. Moving on from quality of life, we have a few new indicators of just how many voice lines are going to be in this game, as well as our first time, as far as I'm aware, hearing Gafgarian's English VA, which apparently has caused a little bit of controversy. Some people aren't as happy with it, but I think it's really cool, so we'll talk about that first. We get that hint of Gafgarian's VA here at the beginning of Chapter 2 when you first wind up leaving Orban Monastery and striking out into the world and get ambushed by some thieves on the road. In case you haven't seen the trailer, I'll go ahead and play the clip right here for you now so we can discuss it.
This day grows lovelier by the hour.
I really like this voice. He sounds exactly like I would expect an older but not elderly, very weathered mercenary soldier to sound like. Kind of has a little bit of like a sarcastic bent to his voice. Not too worried about what's going on in the battlefield. It's more annoying than concerning for an old soldier like him. You know, he's capable, he's seasoned even, but he's by no means out of his prime, and I'm really excited to hear how the rest of his performance is going to play out, especially, you know, like at the gallows, etc., knowing how much new dialogue has apparently been added for Gafgarian. We've also heard a lot more generic voice lines throughout this trailer, just general cast lines, but also a lot of lines that apparently take place in the menus themselves. For example, when you learn a new ability or change jobs, it seems like characters will have something to say about it, which is really cool. It's going to be nice to kind of get that feedback not only from our main named cast, but also from our generics, and it should be something that adds a lot of extra life to those generics that we really like to build up and make our own in this game. Really, the biggest thing that I can hope for is that we're actually given the option to change what voices each character has, so we can really lean into that and make them feel like they're our own. But even if it's just like we have generic male and female black mage voice, like, that's still fine. It's going to be a nice way to differentiate them from the main cast. It would feel weird if the main cast had all these voice dialogue options and then the generics were just mute most of the time, you know? So very cool to see, and it's going to make the menus a little bit more lively as well. Finally, let's talk about that kind of buzz I've been hearing, and I'm sure a lot of you have either seen or been engaging in about this trailer for the last couple of days. This is a major issue with trailers and editing. So what are the two clips that we're talking about here? Let's look at this one here first, where Ramza tackles or rushes a thief off of a cliff, and it seems like she doesn't take any fall damage. I saw people kind of lamenting the idea that we might not have fall damage anymore in FFT, as even though it's not a major factor, there's definitely some maps where being able to knock units off of ledges or having to yourself be intelligent about where you put yourself near ledges so you don't potentially take fall damage were kind of a big part of the strategy, and it would be very much a shame to lose that. But let's look at what we've got going on here. As we can see here, and I've kind of slowed things down so it's a little easier to keep track of, Ramza rushes the thief off of the cliff and she takes 7 damage, which pretty much tracks for the average rush damage in FFT, but we don't see her take any extra damage from the actual fall. Before the camera rotates, our archer takes her turn and she moves forward and finishes off the thief. At a quick glance, it looks like this is a very smooth, rapid-fire set of actions that would again imply that there is no fall damage, but you have to note something here. Watch the walk animations and the idle animations of the other units that are in frame. You'll see right here, right before the camera rotates, that they actually skip. The animations skip because this is actually cleverly edited, in part to remove the UI to make for a smoother gameplay view for people who are just watching the trailer. You can even see here that the thief very awkwardly goes from standing and taking damage to kneeling, when that's usually a smoother animation for when a character is at 10% HP. And again, we don't actually see the actions being selected for the archer to push forward and attack. This whole clip has been edited to remove the menuing, and I think that means either intentionally just to not confuse people about fall damage, or just as a consequence, we don't see that fall damage take place. Now, as another example of editing potentially throwing a spanner into the works of understanding what exactly is happening in these clips, let's go back and look at that battle in town with a particular thief and his retinue ambushing us in Gafgarian at the start of Chapter 2. In this clip here, we can see Lad as a mystic casting Umbra on the thief to blind him, and then seemingly immediately thereafter, as a direct reaction to that, the thief tries to take a swing at the monk standing in front of him with his dagger, before he then gets pummeled for his trouble and downed. Due to how quickly everything moves here, again, people have apparently been under the assumption that there's some odd new change, like a reaction system to being attacked, and then immediately reaction attacking something in front of you, or maybe some sort of new reaction skill, right? But as you can see here, again, looking at the walk cycles of our characters, you can see where that little edit takes place. The animations skip, and then the attacks take place. We don't see the UI, we don't see any menuing, it just goes bing, bang, boom, which looks good for the trailer, but I can understand would then cause some confusion for people who are taking it at face value. It's worth noting as well, even at the beginning of this trailer, there is a small disclaimer at the bottom of the screen that the UI was removed from some footage, so I think it's pretty safe to say that we can put these questions and concerns to rest. Of course, if you do feel that I'm incorrect here, or there's something that I've missed, feel free to disagree with me in the comments, but I don't think you have to worry about this one. And that, my fellow tacticians, is this latest trailer for FFT, the Ivalice Chronicles. Nothing ground shaking, even if people were concerned that there might have been a couple of things that were ground shaking, but it's been really enjoyable to see each of these new trailers come out and see more and more of how much of the gameplay has been smoothed out, and the larger displays and HD quality of games in the modern era is being utilized to make a more comprehensive tactical view for what is such a good turn-based strategy title. We're barely over a month away from the release at time of recording, so I'm not entirely sure how much more new info we are going to get, but as always, I will continue to cover it when and where we do get some. Let me know your thoughts about everything that we saw in this trailer and in today's video. If you have any other questions, concerns, rumors that you've been seeing that you'd like me to discuss, anything like that, put it all in the comments. We can have a nice little conversation. But until the next one, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Thank you to all of my channel supporters, whether you be YouTube members or patrons. You can see their names scrolling by on the right-hand side of the screen right now. And if you would like to join that retinue of names and help directly support the channel, you can find links to your preferred method to do so in the description of this video. With that said, I do hope that you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everyone. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.